friends. Hope y'all are having a good day. What's with the shaky cam? I'm gonna try and film a little plant tour. I want to talk about my plants. They bring me a lot of joy. You'll be able to hear it as I film. So please forgive my shaky cam-ness. So what do we got going on here? So this is where I have the most of my plants. This is the edge of my living room. It's my couch. I've got these little frosted plexi pieces that I scavenged. I just have up for some privacy. They're not normally up there. I have 15, I think I counted 15, though one of them is not technically mine, and I will explain. All right, let's start over here. So these are two jade plants that I've had for a couple of years. One of them I bought, and one of them was a gift from my partner. In general, they're doing pretty well. I recently repotted them into these slightly larger pots. I have an ongoing battle with some mites that they have. If you have jade plants or other succulents that have little white specks that then make little fuzzy egg sacs in like the junction between the stem and the leaf. I forget what they're actually called, but that's what I have. And the most effective way to treat them that I've found is whenever I water them, I take a toothpick and I scrape off any of the egg sacs that I can find, and then I take a paintbrush and I paint rubbing alcohol onto every leaf and stem junction. It's super tedious. I put on a video or an audiobook and I just sit down at my counter and I just do it. And I haven't done it often. I haven't done it with enough frequency to completely get rid of them, but at least they haven't died yet. My hope is that they get big enough to like really block out my windows so I have even more privacy, because like on the other side of, can you see this fence here, there are some apartments that definitely look directly into my apartment. So anyway, so this little philodendron is my newest acquisition. You can see it's just a single little four-leafed stem. This is a rooted cutting that was offered up by someone on my Buy Nothing group, and I put my name in for the running, and I was one of the people selected. So I've had this like less than a week, but so far it's still doing pretty happy. Yeah, so my hope is when it gets bigger, I want to put the pot down here and then have the vine trailing up and onto my windowsills. We'll see how long it takes for it to get to that point. Next, we've got this super this super leggy snake plant. So this has been in this pot, I think, also for about a week. When you'll see my bigger snake plant pot in a minute, but this was a segment that was very, very loose in the soil, and last time I went to water it, it basically just fell apart. And I was like, okay, it definitely wants to be its own thing, and so I've put it in this pot, and I've definitely staked and tied the hell out of it, because before it just couldn't hold its own weight. It's doing a little better now. Yeah, my hope is I can kind of get it to grow towards the window a little bit and get it to fill out a little bit more. So this is my avocado plant, my avocado tree that I grew from a pit. You can see this little junction, oops, bad focus. This little junction here is where I cut it when it reached about 6 inches, because I've heard that cutting it in half and then periodically trimming the top leaves down will help it to grow shorter and bushier, which is better for indoors, since having a full heighted tree is kind of challenging indoors. Hold on, let me get on the other side of this. There we go. Okay, now you can see how happy the leaves are. I can't remember exactly how long I've had this. I definitely took pictures when it was first sprouting. So it's a couple of months old, I believe, but yeah, so that was super successful and it makes me very happy. Next, poor focus. We've got these two little spider plant cuttings. So these were taken from a larger a larger spider plant that I will show you in a minute. This one has been in this jar for maybe like 2 months now, and this one's only been in there for maybe 3-4 weeks. This one, let's see if I can show it on camera. Oh yeah, you can see some of the roots have already kind of come down and around. So this one's doing pretty happily. So this is was my first plant. It was a snake plant I got as a gift. The first segment was this one right here. You can kind of see the remnants of the one time it flowered in there. This is not it at its best. Maybe at the beginning of this year, when I repotted it into this pot, I took one cutting that is another one that's in the bedroom, and it did not take well to that and being repotted. I lost a bunch, I lost a bunch of leaves. That's where all of these things didn't seem well rooted. I got over ambitious with repotting it. I know snake plants like to be a little bit root bound. So you can see it's definitely kind of falling over, though it's doing a lot better than it has. I also suspect I don't have the soil up far enough along the base of it, but between recovering from the first cutting and then the recent cutting that's by my living room window that I just showed you, it definitely seems to be recovering. And I definitely know that the best medicine for helping plants to recover is to mostly leave it alone. So at some point I am going to try and kind of maybe repot it into a smaller pot, or at least play with the soil level in this one, but I'm gonna give it maybe a couple more months to just really recover. This initial bundle is the only one that hasn't given off new leaves. You can definitely see a lot of new leaves over here. So it's overall pretty healthy, but it's just not the best it's ever looked. But it's definitely on the upswing. This is the big spider plant that the other cuttings were taken of. It had a very long trailing growth with the little offshoots on it. So this is technically not mine. This belongs to the carpentry shop at my work. And because it is closed down right now, and we don't know how long it's going to be closed, one of my coworkers took the philodendron that we had, and then I took the spider plant to take home and keep alive so that we didn't come back to work with dead plants. So it's doing okay. It's got like 2 little segments, and this one, I can't tell if it's just a different species or if it's just not as happy. It doesn't seem to be giving off as many new tall leaves. But overall, I've kept it alive. It hasn't flowered again since bringing it home, but anyway, there's that. And now we come to my kitchen. Please excuse my dirty windowsill. So what do we got here? Okay, so this is an orchid. This is my partner gave me this orchid our first Valentine's Day together, and somehow I've managed to keep it alive. There was a time where it was down to like 1 healthy leaf and 1 shriveled leaf, but since then it has flowered again. I think this was the original flowering and this is the more recent one. Yeah, it's doing well now that I've figured out how to actually water orchids. These two I'll talk about together. So this, I think it's definitely over a year old, but maybe going on 2 years old. This was taken from a sprouted leaf from one of my jade plants, which is kind of what I've got going on over here. So let's see, this was like a whole branch I accidentally broke off last time I was watering it, and I also broke off this leaf, and I felt really bad, so I thought, well, might as well stick them in some soil and see if I can get them to sprout. It's been about a week and they haven't shriveled yet, and if memory serves, with going off of that little leaf, it's probably going to be like 6 to 8 weeks before I start seeing any kind of sprouts coming out, excuse me, out of the base of the leaf. Maybe longer, I don't really remember, but hey, as long as it stays green, it doesn't shrivel, something good's happening. But anyway, yeah, this came from one fat leaf that I had taken off, and it's doing pretty well. It's pretty happy. The leaves are a little bit more red because this is a south-facing window, so it has more sunlight, so the leaves will turn more red, especially on the underside as a result. But overall, it's still doing pretty healthy. Fingers crossed, it doesn't have any mites. So yeah. All right, and this last thing, this is, I don't remember what this is actually called. It's a succulent. It's native to Hawaii. That's all I remember. This is another thing I got from a neighbor on Buy Nothing. She had come to pick up something else, and she had like a couple of these in her car. She's like, hey, do you want a succulent? And I'm like, free plants? Yes, please. So I can't remember how long I've had this. Probably about a year at this point. When I first got it, I think there were only like 2 little base sprouts like this, and there was definitely no stem, like on this one over here. So it's doing pretty good. I think that the yellow leaf over there, it's pretty normal. It'll grow a bunch of leaves, and then the bottom couple will get yellow and fall off, and then more will grow on top, and that's how the stem grows. But yeah, it's got a whole bunch of new sprouts at the bottom. I don't know why this one only has 1, but haven't killed it yet. Okay, and now we have my last couple of plants. These are in my bedroom. You can see some camera tripods here as featured in one of my recent Instagram posts. Let's see, I'll talk about this one first. So this was that first cutting. Oh man, the heater is on and I'm standing right in front of it and I am dying right now. Holy shit. Sorry. So this is the first snake plant cutting I took from my big one. This one has been doing pretty well. You can see a couple of newer leaves down in there. I don't know if you... No, it's too dark, but there is like one more little point coming up in the bottom. These leaves are getting like these weird like wavy points, which I think has something to do with overwatering, but nothing is turning brown and dying, so it's doing pretty well. I think we'll see how this looks as we get closer to December, but I think my plan for this was to actually give this one to my mom as a Christmas present, because she doesn't really have any indoor plants, and snake plants are very forgiving, and especially forgiving if you have low light. And I know that she would really like that. She likes bright colors like that. So it's still looking a little scraggly, so we'll see how it looks in a couple of months and whether or not I can bear to part with it. But anyway, that one's doing nicely in here. And then this last one, my last orchid. This one was a Christmas present, I believe, last year from my aunt, which is great. It had one flowering, and I think it had another flowering in the time that I've owned it. It also very much wants to, like, I think it was very much like growing into the window, so I've kind of turned it and staked it in the hopes of that it'll not fall out of its pot. But yeah, I think this one really likes living over my baseboard heater here. But yeah, these are my only plants in this room right now. I'd like to get some more. It makes me happy to open my drapes every morning and see some plants. And these windows, I have some vellum taped up over them. That stays up all year round because this looks straight into the windows of my neighbors, and this is where I sleep and change my clothes. So, but even with that slightly reduced light, these plants are doing pretty well. That's all. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed getting to know all of my plant babies. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I encourage you to go out into the world and be curious. I will have links in my description box to check your voter registration and a couple of other Black Lives Matter activist and education resources in the description box, along with my social media information if you would like to follow me elsewhere. Anyway, I will talk to you folks in my next video. Bye!